The cameras flashed, the crowd froze. And just like that, Hollywood had a new obsession. The gates to the kingdom are closing, and the queen of rap is charging admission. Welcome to Starscope Report.
Yeah, welcome in, everyone.
Join Jordan and Jamie as they uncover Hollywood drama, music industry shakeups, and viral influencer scandals. From red carpet surprises to social media controversies, we dive deep into the stories behind the fame.
And this specific deep dive, I mean, it's honestly a perfect example of why we do what we do.
Oh, absolutely.
We are looking at just a complete masterclass in, public perception versus behind-the-scenes reality.
Right. Today, our mission is to unpack an absolute collision of two very different worlds. Like, on one hand, you have Nicki Minaj's billionaire status, right? The private jets, the mansions, and this fiercely loyal fan base.
Right, the Barbz.
Exactly. But then on the other hand, you have a sudden $10 paywall on her social media, plus this avalanche of $1 million lawsuits and unpaid luxury hotel bills, and it's all threatening to shake her empire to its core.
It's wild. And we are pulling from court documents, entertainment reports from TMZ, XXL Mag, Us Weekly, and we're breaking down the actual mechanics of social media monetization to figure out what is really happening when the cameras are turned off.
Because the contrast is just staggering. You rarely see a global icon's public-facing persona diverge so sharply from their private financial footprint.
Yeah, the catalyst for all of this recent scrutiny really started with a simple, yet I'd say highly calculated, weekend announcement on X.
So let's get right into that headline. Nicki Minaj hits the Barbz, her legendary fan army, with a $10 monthly charge for exclusive posts.
A $10 paywall.
Yeah. But before we get into the wild reactions from the fans, we kind of have to look at the platform mechanics. X, formerly Twitter, has transformed entirely under Elon Musk. It's not just a microblogging site anymore.
No, not at all. It's aggressively pushing to be a creator economy hub. That structural shift is it's vital context for this. X now features this tiered premium system, but the specific tool being utilized here is the creator subscription model.
Okay, so how does that actually work for the creator?
Well, the platform is essentially allowing high-profile users to bypass traditional ad revenue sharing. So they can monetize their following directly. It turns, passive followers into active paying subscribers.
So I think of it almost like a Patreon, but baked directly into the timeline you're already scrolling.
Exactly.
Creators set a monthly price. And in exchange, the subscribers get access to exclusive content, private replies, hidden spaces, all that. It completely bypasses the need for a third-party site.
Yep, it's all in-house.
So over the weekend, Nicki leverages this tool. She posts to her millions of followers with a very specific, highly intimate pitch. She says, and I quote, "I finally did it. You can now subscribe to my X account. It's for PPL who want to have fun, think deeper, grow, learn, laugh, cry, cuss PPL out, look cute sometimes, be yourself at all times. Elevate, levitate, meditate."
Elevate, levitate, meditate.
Right. Exclusive spaces and content. Welcome aboard.
I mean, from a purely marketing standpoint, that copy is brilliant.
It really is.
It doesn't just sell access, right? It sells emotional intimacy. It promises the sort of unfiltered, chaotic, behind-the-scenes energy that her core audience just completely craves.
And that emotional access comes with a price tag of $10 a month. And just for some global context for you listening, if you're tuning in from South Africa, that's roughly 181 Rand and 70 cents hitting your bank statement every single month.
Wow, yeah.
And the Barbz, they immediately mobilized. Within just 3 days of this launch, over 2,300 people had whipped out their credit cards and opted in.
3 days?
3 days.
Yeah.
That is an instant $23,000 a month in recurring passive revenue.
Which really speaks volumes about the sheer gravity of her personal brand. Very few celebrities can convert free followers to paid subscribers at that velocity.
Totally.
But, while a few thousand fans were ready to elevate and levitate, the broader public reaction fractured almost instantly.
Oh, the internet practically split in two over this. You had one side of the fan base treating this like a VIP kingdom. They were posting celebratory memes, proudly showing off their subscriber badges on their profiles.
Right, like a status symbol.
Exactly. To them, this is a savvy business move by a mogul who knows her worth. Their logic is, she produces content that drives engagement on the platform, so why give that away for free?
Sure. But the skepticism from the other side of the aisle was just as loud.
Oh, the critics did not hold back at all. People immediately started raising eyebrows and asking, Wait, what happened to billionaire Barbie?
Yeah, that's the big question.
The timeline was just flooded with people asking why one of the wealthiest, most successful women in hip-hop history is suddenly passing around a digital collection plate to everyday fans. Like, is this just a digital velvet rope to keep the haters out, or is it a digital tip jar because the kingdom's treasury is running low?
And that skepticism is the absolute key to this entire deep dive. If you look at this impartially, sure, creating a paid tier is absolutely a velvet rope. It filters out trolls. It creates a safe space for superfans.
Right.
But you simply cannot separate the launch of a new immediate cash flow stream from the massive wave of financial and legal demands currently crashing down on her in the courts.
Well, and if you're listening to this and wondering if a $10 subscription is just a drop in the bucket for a megastar, wait until you hear what she is allegedly spending on Pringles and M&Ms. That's coming up next.
The Pringles receipt is iconic.
It is wild. And hey, if you're loving these Hollywood twists, make sure you're subscribed. We've got even crazier stories ahead.
Yeah, so the transition from digital velvet ropes to physical luxury is really where the facade starts to crack. We need to examine a lawsuit filed by a live event production company called 247 Productions.
Okay, yes, this case is fascinating because it exposes exactly how celebrity logistics work, like behind the curtain.
Exactly. So 247 Productions filed a lawsuit claiming they advanced roughly $255,000 for services connected to Nicki's 2023 Jingle Ball appearance.
Right, and the promotional week for her album, Pink Friday, too.
Yep. They allege that with additional costs, the total debt owed to them is now sitting at around $275,000.
Which is a massive chunk of change.
It is. And, the mechanics of these arrangements are often hidden from the public. Typically, a production company acts almost like a temporary bank for an artist on a promotional run.
Right. They front the money for hotels, travel, logistics, all of it, just to ensure the talent can focus on the performance.
Exactly. The expectation, heavily detailed in contracts, of course, is that they will be reimbursed.
But to prove they were owed this money, 247 Productions had to submit the actual itemized hotel invoices to the court. And this is where the documents read like a Hollywood script.
Oh, yeah.
The invoices revealed that during her album release week in New York, Nicki was allegedly staying at the ultra-luxurious Langham Hotel under an alias.
The alias is so good.
The name on the bill was Tori Spaulding.
Tori Spaulding, which, by the way, using an alias is standard operating procedure for high-profile figures. If a global superstar books a hotel under their real name, the security risks are, well, they're catastrophic.
Oh, absolutely. Fans would swarm the lobby.
Right. So the production company sets up a master account under the alias. The hotel routes all charges to that master bill, meaning the talent never has to, physically pull out a personal credit card at the front desk.
And Tori Spaulding racked up quite the tab. I mean, the bill was a staggering $76,000 for a 7-night stay.
Just unbelievable.
That breaks down to $9,500 a night for the suite alone. But the itemized minibar and room service receipts are the real star of this lawsuit.
Yeah, the granular details are what transform a standard breach of contract lawsuit into a complete tabloid sensation.
We are talking $3,980 just on food and drinks charged to the room in one single week.
Almost $4,000 on room service.
Yes. Over $2,200 was spent on private kitchen dining. $20 for a single bottle of Evian water.
$20.
$8 for a Coke. And my absolute favorite detail from the court filing $7 each for tiny containers of M&Ms and Pringles.
I mean, $7 for Pringles, that's a markup.
Right. And that was just New York. Down in Florida at the Four Seasons, the master bill hit over $17,000 for 4 nights, which included $500 strictly on pool food.
Pool food. Wow.
Yeah.
And, 247 Productions, they utilize these itemizations aggressively in court.
Mm-hmm.
By putting the $7 Pringles on the public record, they're actively trying to paint a picture for the judge and really the court of public opinion.
Oh, for sure. They explicitly labeled the rapper spoiled and entitled in their filings.
But Nicki's legal team didn't just apologize and write a check. They fired back with a very specific corporate defense.
Right.
First, her lawyers argued that for a major global artist on a promotional tour, these hotel expenses are actually a completely standard pre-approved budget.
Which, I mean, maybe for an A-lister, $9,000 a night is standard.
Exactly. They claim 24/7 is just weaponizing flashy room service receipts to distract from the actual contract terms. But her core defense is even bolder. She claims she isn't personally liable for a single dime.
This is where it gets crazy. This introduces a critical concept in corporate law, right? Her legal team argues that the contract in question was strictly between 2047 Productions and her company, Pink Friday Productions, LLC.
Right. It was not a contract with her as an individual human being.
So it's like she is basically using the LLC as a legal invisibility cloak. She's asking the judge to dismiss her from the lawsuit entirely, arguing that Pink Friday Productions is the entity that owes the money, not her personally. She even wants 2047 to pay her attorney's fees for dragging her personal name into it.
It's a bold strategy.
But I have to push back on this strategy. I mean, I understand that business is business, but can you really hide behind a company name when you are the physical human being sleeping in the $9,000 bed and eating the $7 Pringles? Like, the LLC didn't eat the M&Ms.
That tension is exactly what 247 Productions is arguing. The legal term for what they are attempting is called piercing the corporate veil.
Piercing the veil.
Yeah, so a limited liability company, an LLC, it exists specifically to shield an individual's personal assets, like their private bank accounts or their homes, from the company's debts.
So if the company goes under, you don't lose your house.
Exactly. If the LLC goes bankrupt, the person walks away financially unscathed. Unless the plaintiff can prove the veil is just an illusion.
Right.
Which is precisely the argument here. To pierce that veil, 247 has to convince the judge that the line between, Nicki Minaj, the person, and Pink Friday Productions, the company, is virtually non-existent. They are arguing she personally benefited from the services, and therefore she can't use the LLC to avoid paying the bill.
It's just a fascinating legal chess match. And honestly, hiding behind an LLC to fight a concert promoter is one thing. But later in the episode, we'll talk about the shocking twist nobody saw coming that arrived right at her front door.
Yeah, that part is wild.
Because this strategy of shielding yourself from liability takes a very dark turn when you decide to use it against your own legal team.
Yes. The transition from unpaid promoters to unpaid attorneys reveals a much more, I'd say, alarming pattern behind the scenes.
Let's look at the lawsuit involving the law firm, Gordon Rees, Scully Mansukhani, LLP.
That's a mouthful.
It is.
Yeah.
But the headline here is that Nicki Minaj is facing a default judgment over nearly $230,000 in allegedly unpaid legal fees to her own defense team.
To understand how a star ends up sued by their own lawyers, we kind of have to rewind to 2023. A musician named Julius Johnson filed a copyright infringement lawsuit against Nicki and her producer Mike Will Made It.
Okay. Over what song?
Johnson claimed they stole his 2011 beat for her 2014 track, I Lied. He alleged a hard drive was stolen from an Atlanta studio they all had access to.
Wow. Which is a very standard, high-stakes music industry dispute. If you lose a copyright case, you aren't just paying damages, right? You could lose future royalties on the track entirely.
Absolutely. So to protect those royalties, she hired Gordon Rees, Scully Mansukhani. And the firm, by all accounts, did their job effectively. In December 2024, they reached a confidential settlement, permanently closing the copyright dispute.
Okay, so they won, or at least they secured a favorable exit for her. But according to the law firm, they never received payment for saving the song.
Nope.
In March, they sued her for $229,541 in unpaid fees. But the craziest part of this story isn't the unpaid bill, it's her legal strategy in response to the bill, which was absolutely nothing.
Nothing. She completely ignored the filing.
I am still trying to wrap my head around the mechanics of this. If you are a global superstar, you have an army of people around you, you've got business managers, agents, assistants, security.
It's a massive team.
How does a lawsuit from the very people who are just hired to protect you simply get ignored? And legally speaking, you cannot just ghost a judge.
You cannot. And the consequences are severe. Because she allegedly ignored the March filing, the law firm went back to court and requested a default judgment, which a judge is scheduled to decide on in September.
For anyone listening who hasn't spent time in civil court, a default judgment is basically a legal forfeit. It's like dropping a devastating diss track on a rival and they just never respond. In the court of public opinion, the person who spoke up wins. In an actual court of law, the judge looks at the empty defense chair and says, well, she didn't show up to object, so the plaintiff gets the money.
That is the perfect way to visualize it. You entirely forfeit your right to argue about the merits of the bill. You can't claim they overcharged you. You can't claim the work was subpar.
Right, your silence is a surrender.
By doing nothing, the court assumes you concede to everything the plaintiff is asking for.
It's like watching a train slowly derailing. Stay tuned and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next, because the consequences of these ignored lawsuits get very real very fast.
Yeah, when you look at the 247 Hotel lawsuit, alongside this default judgment from our own lawyers, we are no longer looking at isolated incidents. We are looking at a documented history of ignored legal actions and unpaid debts compounding over time.
Which brings us to the ultimate physical consequence of pretending a lawsuit doesn't exist. We are moving from unpaid legal fees to the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department physically arriving at your sanctuary.
Right, and the background for this crisis actually originates in Germany.
Okay, tell us about that.
So a man named Thomas Weidenmuller was working as a security guard at one of Nicki's international shows. He filed a lawsuit against her and her husband, Kenneth Betty.
The allegations in this case are really intense. According to the court documents, a fan broke through a barrier at the concert, which visibly upset Nicki. Weidenmuller claims he tried to intervene while she was yelling at a female security guard, and that intervention redirected her anger toward him.
Yeah, it escalated quickly.
Later that evening, he says he was summoned to her dressing room where the confrontation continued. And then he alleges that Kenneth Petty struck him completely out of nowhere.
And the resulting injuries were severe. Weidenmuller claimed he suffered a broken jaw that required multiple surgeries and just extensive recovery. So he sued the couple for assault and battery.
And in what is now becoming a very familiar playbook, what was the response from Nicki and her husband?
Complete silence. They failed to respond to the lawsuit in court.
They ghosted the security guard just like they ghosted the law firm.
Exactly. And the legal mechanism kicked in exactly as we just discussed. Because they didn't show up to defend themselves or, dispute the events, a judge awarded Weidenmuller a massive default judgment of $503,000.
$500,000. But there is a massive difference between a judge handing you a piece of paper that says you are owed $500,000 and actually getting that money transferred into your bank account.
Oh, completely. Collection is notoriously the hardest part of civil litigation. If the defendant simply refuses to write the check, the plaintiff has to use the leverage of the legal system to forcefully extract the funds.
And Weidenmuller's legal team did not mess around with politely asking for the money. They went straight to the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department. The sheriffs marched right up to Nicki's Hidden Hills mansion, which, by the way, is a fortress that boasts 11 bedrooms, 16 bathrooms, and nearly 12,000 square feet of living space. It's worth an estimated $20 million.
It's a massive estate.
And the sheriffs placed a legal levy on the property. And the way they served this notice was by literally taping the legal document to her front gate.
Which is such a striking visual. And let's break down what a levy actually does, because it is a drastic and aggressive legal tool. A levy essentially freezes the property's title. Weidenmuller is legally demanding that the court force the sale of the home to satisfy the debt.
So Weidenmuller is basically saying, I don't care if you have the cash hidden in an LLC or a checking account. I will force the bank to auction off your house, pay off your $13 million mortgage, and hand me my $500,000 from whatever equity is left over.
Exactly.
The psychological impact of that has to be staggering. You are a global superstar living behind guarded gates, and you walk out to find a sheriff's notice threatening to auction off your sanctuary over an ignored lawsuit.
The public reaction to the levy hitting the news was instantaneous, naturally. And Nicki actually took to X to respond to this specific crisis directly.
Right. She claims she was completely blindsided. She wrote that she was entirely unaware of the judgment. Now, how does someone not know they owe $500,000?
Well, she blamed a business manager.
Aha, okay.
She alleged that this unnamed manager intercepted and hid the legal documents from her and even stole from her multiple times. She posted, "Let's see if they'll speak up or if I'll have to call them out by name."
Which brings up the mechanics of how celebrities are served legal papers, right? Process servers rarely get to walk up and hand a lawsuit directly to an A-list celebrity.
Right. They can't just get past security. They serve the registered agent or the business manager. So it is entirely possible for a manager to receive a lawsuit and fail to pass it up the chain.
That makes sense.
However, in the eyes of the court, the property owner is ultimately responsible for judgments entered against them, regardless of staff incompetence. If your manager drops the ball, it's still your house on the auction block.
Wow. And this brings the entire narrative full circle, right back to where we started.
It really does. When you connect the dots across all these sources, the picture completely shifts. When your $20 million house has a sheriff's levy taped to the gate, when your own lawyers are suing you for $250,000, and when concert promoters are weaponizing your room service bills in court because basic logistics are slipping through the cracks.
Right.
Suddenly, that $10 X subscription doesn't look like a casual digital experiment.
No, it doesn't just look like a fun VIP club to elevate and levitate. It looks like a necessary, immediate influx of liquid cash to fight a multi-front legal war. Monetizing a fiercely loyal fan base for $10 a month provides instant, unrestricted capital that doesn't have to be funneled through touring promoters or frozen LLCs.
Yeah, it completely shatters the illusion of perpetual wealth that we associate with fame. We assume that billion-dollar brand valuations equal total financial invulnerability.
Right, like they're untouchable.
But the mechanics of this story show that complex corporate structures, ignored paperwork, and massive operational overhead can create profound vulnerability no matter how many records you've sold.
If you aren't managing the machine will eventually crush you. Which leaves us with a lingering question for you to ponder. Are we witnessing a new era of celebrity where the ultimate status symbol isn't a billion-dollar net worth or a sprawling mansion in hidden hills, but rather a loyal, mobilized fan base willing to quietly crowdfund their favorite star's legal defense $10 at a time?
It is a fascinating evolution of the creator economy.
You've been listening to Starscope Report, where Jordan and Jamie uncover the stories shaping Hollywood, music, and pop culture. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.